Dear viewers, welcome to our channel, Real and Weird. In this video, we will learn about the story of a criminal serial killer. Our story begins with a child who grew up in a difficult environment and lived painful experiences that made him turn into a complex and cruel character.
Joseph Matheny, one of the most terrifying serial killers in the history of crime, stands out as one of the serial killers who used horrible means to abuse victims after he got rid of them, to the extent that he even served them as barbecue meals.
Matheny was huge, 450 pounds, and his family described him as a cowardly boy who was overweight, and none of them seems to have enough time for them.
In the 70s of the 20th century, after serving in the American Army, he was separated from his family completely, and drifted into the camps of the homeless, where he slept under bridges. He was also known for hanging out with a group of homeless people in an area called Bata Bisco. He was also known as Matheny in several bars in the southern Baltimore area of Washington Belt. He spent months spending his money on cocaine, heroin and alcoholic beverages. Despite that, he held a steady job as a forklift driver, where Joseph Roy was a gentle giant, as described by his friends, as well as being intelligent, well-spoken and well-mannered.
After a short period of time, he started to go to places that contain abandoned houses to meet a group of bad friends, and share the use of forbidden substances. So that he met his wife during that period and they got married after a short time, who in turn shared with him the use of drugs. His upbringing started to be somewhat normal. It seems to the boy that the first is like any reckless teenager, who drifts with his bad friends in the absence of any kind of family control, until that day came. That transformed his life and radically transformed into a murderer who enjoys killing people in horrific ways, cooking their meat, and selling it to customers in burger sandwiches. In July of 1994, after he finished his overtime shift in his job as a truck driver, Matheny returned to his house to be surprised by his wife, who took all his belongings and went with their 6-year-old son, only to discover shortly after that she had escaped with her lover and friends who were drug addicts. And in one of his trial sessions, Matheny stated, "It wasn't my problem to leave her, but she took my son with her." He went crazy, and became floundering left and right, not knowing what to do, and how to take revenge. He asked and looked for his wife and child everywhere, and after unsuccessful attempts he was able to find 2 homeless men aged 33 years. Randall Brewer and Randy Pike believed that they were in a relationship with the fleeing wife, and they were found under one of the bridges. So he lured them and pounced on them like a predatory beast that pounces on his prey. So he raped them and then killed them with an iron axe. And after he finished them, he drew his attention to the presence of a man who was fishing in the river near him, looking to him, and pounced on him too to bring him down like a third corpse in the river. And this was the beginning of his criminal career. Despite his attempts to hide the traces of the crime, he was arrested shortly after and spent 18 months in prison, waiting to appear in court, and the trial lasted only 1 week and Matheny was acquitted and the case was closed, as the jury in court concluded that there was not enough evidence to convict him. In 1996, after Matheny's release from prison, he lured 2 prostitute girls who were attending a nightclub, the first called Kathy and Magaziner, 45 years old, and the second Kimberly Spicer, 23 years, and he began dating the 2 girls and became frequented with them to a Mexican restaurant, where he worked. Then he began to invite them to his trailer, which he frequented, to use drugs at the time, and began to offer them to use drugs with him. And at one time, while the 2 girls were with him, Matheny tried to sexually assault them. So Kimberly tried to resist him, and when he felt her resistance to him, he stabbed her several times in the face and neck and 9 stabs in her back, and she immediately fell dead. Meanwhile, Kathy tried to escape, but was unable to escape his grasp as he grabbed her and dealt her a blow to the neck that led to her death instantly. Metheny was not satisfied with that, so he cut the girls' bodies, put them in plastic bags, took them to his house and stored them in the freezer. It seems that Metheny was in financial distress at the time. So a diabolical idea came to his mind. He bought a quick barbecue cart to park on the side of the road on the weekend. And people bought from him as he served delicious pork burgers, or that customers thought were. But in fact it was nothing but human meat, mixed with a little beef or pork. Of course, those human meat were none other than the bodies of the two girls, Kathy and Spicer, who he killed and kept in his house. In an interview with him, "I had good sandwiches, and no one could have doubted them or knew where they came from. No one would have known the difference between them and pork," says Metheny. And you have full freedom, dear viewer, to start with your imagination and imagine the taste of that burger. When his meat stocks were running out, he had to go back hunting and try to lure another prey to kill her, cook her body and serve it in burgers. It seems that he liked the idea, and it became a money for him. This time his prey was a woman named Rita Kimber, who lured her to his trailer, under the pretext that they would use drugs there. He tried to get close to her, woo her, and ask her to have sex. When Kimber refused, of course he wouldn't let her go. He attacked her, trying to strangle her with both hands, saying, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls." Kimber tried to get out of the trailer, in desperate attempts to escape from the clutches of this fearsome monster. But he chased her down, beat her and dragged her behind the trailer, then tried to rape her, and says about her during his trial, he began to tear her clothes and beat her with continuous laughter from him, while she was crying, but with a split-second turning, she managed to escape through the trailer window. He was arrested in 1996. He was later convicted of the murders of Kimberly Spicer, Tony Lane and Gracia, and Kathy and Magaziner, who also claimed to have murdered 3 prostitutes on Washington Street Road in Baltimore. And he said he threw the bodies into the Patapsco River. But after search and investigation they were not found by the police. The Baltimore newspaper reported in 1997. It was not clear how true his claims about the number of people he had killed were, even though he said he had killed 10 people in the Baltimore area, and his lawyer said he regretted what he had done, and that drugs and alcohol had changed his character and made him violent. He was tried in 1997 in the Kimber case, and sentenced to 50 years in prison, for kidnapping and attempted sexual assault. He was also acquitted of attempting to kill her. In 1998 he was sentenced to death for the murder of Spicer and Magaziner. Metheny was found dead in his prison cell at the Western Corrections Institute in Cumberland, Maryland, on August 5, 2017, at the age of 62. In conclusion, I wish, dear viewer, that you think twice and remember this story well before you take a bite of a burger sandwich.